Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah Sperber. I am a realtor in the Northern Nevada market, and obviously, with that, I help a lot of relocating buyers who are moving here from other states. More often than not, they are coming here from California. So, on today's video, I thought it would be really fun to make somewhat of a comparative analysis of some of the major places that people consider when they're thinking about moving out of California. We are seeing a mass exodus from that state, but there are a few key places that are kind of at the top of the list for people who are moving. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. So, obviously, I'm here in Northern Nevada. I live in Reno, and the Northern Nevada market is kind of my jam, so I'm rooting for us. Whoop whoop. But obviously, a few of the other key players in that overall, like, where should I go if I leave California discussion are Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, and Boise, Idaho. So I'm going to give you an overview and compare those four places, and maybe that will help you make a decision if you are thinking about moving. So I'm going to kind of divide this into a few different kind of subtopics, but don't go anywhere. Watch until the end because obviously, being that I'm a real estate professional, I am going to save the housing market topic for the last bit. So watch all the way to the end and stay with me. Let's talk first about the cost of living. Reno, Nevada, depending on where in California you're coming from, but more likely than not, Reno is going to be significantly more affordable than most places in California, especially if you are coming from a major city like San Francisco or the Bay Area or Los Angeles. Obviously, Reno is going to feel like quite a break in price as far as cost of living overall. Also, you have to remember that Nevada has no state income tax. So even if the cost of living is a bit higher than some of these other options, we have no state income tax. So that makes it more affordable when you're looking at the cost of living overall. Phoenix, Arizona is going to feel significantly less expensive than pretty much anywhere in California, although you have to remember that Phoenix is rapidly growing and that is rapidly changing. So if you are thinking about making a move to Phoenix, you're going to want to act fast. Demand obviously plays a significant role in all of these cities, and demand is increasing across the board, so I wouldn't wait. Okay, Austin's a really interesting kind of parallel to Reno when people are thinking about just overall culture and cost of living and just kind of vibe. A lot of what you're gonna find in Reno as far as like cultural context, it's heavily influenced by like Burning Man, and there's a very creative energy here, even if you're not into the arts or into the burn or into any of that. Like, even just like the public art that's around our city is art that was made for the playa that got brought here after or purchased by the city. Austin's got a lot of the same kind of things, you know, a lot of the similar kinds of entertainment. There's a lot of burlesque and drag and just kind of offbeat, off kilter cultural experiences, you might say. And the other thing to think about is that Austin is in Texas, which also has no state income tax. So the two are pretty similar, and as we go through this, if you're on the fence between the two, you might want to weigh in on some of the other topics I'm going to discuss before making a decision. Let's talk about Boise, Idaho. As far as overall cost of living, Boise's probably going to be the least expensive overall when compared to the other cities we're talking about. Way less expensive than living in California. I haven't gotten to the housing market part, but I will say there has been kind of a surge in housing prices just because of the mass exodus from California and the increasing demand. Let's talk about climate. So Reno typically, I say typically, in some years is what I should say, has 4 seasons, I guess. I come from like the western part of Massachusetts where the 4 seasons are very distinct. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's true here, but compared to other high desert climates, we do get like a pretty distinct spring and fall. Our winters can be pretty brutal and our summers can be pretty brutal on the opposite end of the spectrum. So those shoulder seasons, what we call them, they are different. We have dry summers. We have significant snow in the winter in most years, depending on where you are. And even in the summertime, it tends to cool down pretty cold in the evenings here. So there's a lot of variety. If you like to like wear layers and change it up and have cute outfits for different temperatures, like you might actually really like living here. Phoenix, that's a whole different ball game. If you're someone who just hates the cold, hates the snow, does not like winter, Phoenix might be a better option for you. They have extremely like record-breaking temps in Phoenix most of the summer, and the winters are really mild. They're probably pretty comfortable, to be honest, but you're not going to get 10 feet of snow in 2 days like you might get here in Reno. Austin is a whole other kind of wild card, so to speak. Austin's very humid, and summers there can be very swampy. They can be really brutal. If you're not into humidity and heat, and especially like in the summertime, I don't think you're going to be very happy living in Austin. I actually met a couple that came here from Austin, and their biggest driving factor was actually the weather in Austin. It's just too hot. It's too humid. I don't know if you've experienced this, but like dry heat is so different. It's so much more tolerable than humid heat. When you're in high humidity, it's like you're swimming through the air. Nothing ever dries. You're like sticky and sweaty. Your hair is a mess. Like it's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant. So that would be a serious thing to consider if you are looking at Reno versus Austin. Boise actually might be the most similar to Reno in this way. They have 4 distinct seasons, more or less, but overall, it's going to be significantly colder temps than it is in Reno. So you just might want to consider that, but I'd say both Reno and Boise give you a lot of variety throughout the year if that's something that you're seeking. If you are, an avid athlete, if you like snow sports, but you also like to swim or whatever, like you might want to look at these areas that are a little bit more mountainous rather than the desert in Phoenix or in Austin where it's basically a swamp. So keep that in mind. Let's talk about the job market and the economy and compare these 4 cities. Reno has absolutely exploded in terms of like the tech sector. We have Tesla, we have Panasonic, we have Amazon that's building a lot of new like hubs and construction projects here. Microsoft is here. There are a bunch, and they just keep coming and they keep building. So if you're somebody who is employed in the tech sector and you are thinking about, prospects of where you might be able to get a job and relocate, Reno might be a great option for you. Phoenix has a bit more of a diverse economy. They have very strong healthcare, finance, and tech sectors, and there are significant job opportunities in the metro area. Austin's gonna be a little bit closer to Reno in that it is a major tech hub now. I do think that some of these bigger companies have understood that there are a lot of tax benefits to going and, creating their company hubs in places where there are no state income taxes. So that obviously includes Nevada and Texas and Florida, but we're not here to talk about Florida. But Austin has a lot of tech job opportunities. People often refer to Austin as the Silicon Hills, obviously referencing Silicon Valley in the South Bay. So that's most of what you're going to find in Austin. Boise is a bit different from the other 3. It's a much slower growth, but still steady than the other 3 cities. Their major industries are going to include agriculture. There is some tech. I know Micron has a hub there, and also manufacturing, but significantly less opportunities in Boise for now than there are in the other 3 cities, although that could obviously change as it develops and grows. Let's talk about lifestyle and recreation. This is probably the most fun topic, but I am going to get into the housing market, so don't go anywhere. That's coming at the very end. Reno lifestyle to me is like ideal, and I will say it's kind of felt that way for me for the last 20 years, and obviously in like a 20-year time period we go through a lot of changes, right? So our proximity to Lake Tahoe, which I've already touched on, makes it very ideal if you're an outdoor recreation enthusiast. We also are a relatively small city, I guess, when compared to maybe Austin, but we are rapidly growing. But with that, we have a pretty cool grassroots like arts, culture, entertainment scene here. I'd way rather go see like the local bluegrass band or like whatever, something like a little bit more local, low key. We have so much of that. Pretty much like every bar and pub in Reno at night on weekends has like some level of entertainment going on. So I think that makes it really cool and a lot more special than Beyonce. Phoenix is going to feel a lot more urban than Reno or Boise, probably. It's a much bigger, like, city. But there is a significant amount of like endless hiking outside of the city. There's going to be a lot more like professional sports and many more cultural activities than you're going to find in smaller cities like Reno or Boise. So if you just want more, bigger, endless, all of these kinds of adjectives, if those are really speaking to you, then you might be happier in Phoenix or Austin than you would be in Reno or Boise. Although, like I said, both Boise and Reno are rapidly growing. Austin is famous for South by Southwest. It's a huge festival that spans across many venues across the whole city, and you're gonna see all kinds of musical acts and entertainment. That is probably like the heart and soul of the entertainment world in Austin. There's a ton of cool music, great art. There's like a big foodie culture there. Like, it's pretty happening. I think, in my opinion, out of the four cities, if you just want like the ultimate entertainment experience, you're probably going to be best situated in Austin if you can tolerate the humidity. If you are someone who's seeking a slower, quieter pace with an emphasis on recreation, you would probably really love living in Boise. There's all kinds of hiking, mountain biking, rafting. That's really the core of the culture there. So as far as like lifestyle and recreation, that's really why people want to live in Boise. Let's talk traffic and transportation. Reno, when compared to like major cities like LA, yeah, it's minimal, but we do have rush hour now, and we do have serious road work as we are accommodating the rapid growth and expansion that the city is undergoing. So literally, I just moved to South Reno because the northern part of the city was getting so congested. I know ultimately it's gonna be better. Even down here in South Reno, at certain times, there's a lot of road work. So, you know, obviously with growth and expansion comes a lot of road work and traffic. But, you know, we aren't as big as many other cities. So if you're coming from, let's say, Los Angeles, like, this is gonna feel like absolutely nothing to you. Phoenix does have traffic. There are more people there, but I feel like Phoenix is a bit more developed in that way. They've kind of been working on their infrastructure longer than we have. And so I feel like they have much more expansive highways and systems to kind of move all the people around. There is traffic at certain times, but overall, I think it's probably more minimal than cities of a similar size. Austin is congested. There is a serious lack of public transportation there compared to cities of a similar size, and the infrastructure there, like Reno, has been kind of lagging with how fast it has developed. All right, if you just hate traffic and you hate congestion and you want a place that's pretty easy to get around, for now, Boise might be for you. It's minimal traffic, it's very easy to navigate, it's a much smaller metro footprint than any of the other cities that we are talking about. All right, you guys, the moment you've all been waiting for, we are going to dive into the housing market topic. And I hate to burst your bubble, but basically, the four cities that we've been kind of going over this whole time, there's not a huge difference as far as like cost of housing. All of them are kind of within $100,000 of each other as far as median sales price. So what I really want to say is, if you are considering the four cities, I would probably not necessarily make price a huge factor unless you're looking like specific house to specific house, comparing actual homes and actual prices, because as far as like median, they're all very similar. So median sales price in Reno is just above $550K. Obviously, that's much more affordable than most major cities in California. Phoenix is going to be about $100K less than that, coming in at around $450. Austin's very similar to Reno, kind of that $550 mark, and Boise is landing right in the middle at $500K. Now, we can talk about like types of inventory, right? Like, Reno's definitely a mix. There are pockets of Reno where you're going to find more historic homes, But, the vast majority of new construction homes kind of all look the same. Very popular here are stucco homes with tile roofs, although I think people have finally figured out that those are not ideal for the climate here. Phoenix, you're gonna find much more inventory just because it's a bigger city, and you're probably gonna find some newer developments and more variety than you're going to find in Reno. Austin has such a hot market that it's going to be more competitive, and you're going to find very limited options in the city center, at least anything closely resembling that median sales price that we talked about. Boise's probably going to be your most cost-effective place to make an offer. You're probably going to have a lot less competition and probably more options, even though it's a smaller city, although market demand is picking up there as well. But you probably are going to get more for your money, more bang for your buck, as they say, than you would in Reno or in Austin or even in Phoenix. All right, so let's just do a quick recap of these 4 cities. So, the ideal candidate for Reno would be somebody who loves outdoor recreation, loves changing of the seasons and weather varieties, maybe needs tax benefits, maybe you're a business owner, maybe state income tax is going to be a huge make or break situation for your finances, and somebody who kind of loves the feel of a small city but the amenities of a larger city. The ideal candidate for a Phoenix dweller would be a sun seeker, someone who does not like the cold, someone who can tolerate high temps, maybe isn't afraid of being indoors during a lot of the summer months when it's simply too hot and air conditioning is a requirement, and somebody who is seeking diverse job offerings and cultural activities. The ideal Austin dweller is going to be somebody who doesn't mind the humid climate, somebody who is looking for possibly a tech job, but somebody who's also very creative and likes a lot of diverse cultural and entertainment offerings. And last but not least, the ideal candidate for someone relocating to Boise would maybe be a family or a retiree, somebody that's looking for more of a quiet, peaceful, and serene place to live with access to outdoor recreation and maybe a slower pace of life. All right, you guys, that was a lot. Hopefully that was helpful to you. If you have further questions about Reno or the market here, I am here for you. I'm your girl. I am a realtor here. You can book a free call with me. There's a link in the show notes below. It's no obligation, and it's just an opportunity to connect, see if we might be a good fit to work together, or at the very least, get your questions answered and help you devise your next and best steps. And if you haven't already, please smash that like and that subscribe button. I put out new videos every single week about the Reno Sparks lifestyle, the Northern Nevada housing market, and of course, all things to do with buying and selling real estate. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.